God! No, yo. Night of the Living Dummy! God, Slappy. Yo, Slappy. Slappy? See? That's Slappy. There's Slappy. Poking his head up there. That's Slappy, y'all. Yo, here's Slappy. Beautiful. Here's Slappy, y'all. That's Slappy, if you didn't know. Here's Slappy. That's Slappy. Yo. I'm Slappy! Yeah. Yo, I have another word for you. There's Slappy. I know, crazy. That is every 5-year-old's fucking mind when they see this book, no matter what fucking variation, because they all slap you on it. When in reality, the true fucking mascot that should have arose, or whatever, from this book, I want to say another word, Mr. Motherfucking Wood. The actual villain in this book. Now, no shit, there's a living dummy that comes to life one night, but it ain't no Slappy. I'll tell you that much. Until the end. We all know that's iconic book anyways. Yes, y'all, I know I'm extending this fucking intro, but today we are talking about every 5-year-old Goosebumps fan's favorite book. I'm sorry to say it, but it's fucking true. It's probably the only book they've ever touched or can recognize the name of besides The Haunted Mask. And maybe Monster Blood. I'm sorry, it's just true. Today we're talking about Night of the Living Dummy. Thankfully, this was never my favorite book. I always had a deep craving for egg monsters, even since I was a young boy. Even if I did lean towards, Slappy's Nightmare more, which, understandable, it is a great book still. And it's one of the great Series 2000 books. I just don't believe how fucking popular this book is. That it is like the icon of Goosebumps now, with Slappy. It birthed the icon of Goosebumps, and I have to give this a good intro, because, this is Night of the fucking Living Dummy. This is, the book that was the very first book that came out when Goosebumps finally boomed, like a fucking nuclear bomb, right after Let's Get Invisible. A classic, in my opinion. Very good. This book just came out, and then just, boom! Bazooka! Boom! Completionist quote. Yeah, this book came out, and it just skyrocketed. It's just hilarious how much came from one little book, how recognizable it is. Yeah, sorry, I've been a little hyper this intro. We're talking about a very, very fucking famous Goosebumps book. More famous than Haunted Mask, arguably. This has more reprints. I see this one every time I walk into Barnes & Noble. It's on basically every fucking box set. And there's a whole series named after him. There ain't no Haunted Mask series. Do you see Haunted Mask World? No, I see Slappy World, y'all. Yeah, without further ado, let's get to the blurb. Sorry, y'all. Gotta want to tune Slappy's character. That's a fact. Hopefully nobody will ever know and remember from Slappy's history. Anyways, moving on to the blurb. He's no dummy. No shit. I mean, if you all watch the movie, he ain't no dummy. Lindy names a ventriloquist dummy she finds Slappy. Wow. Slappy is kind of ugly, but he's a lot of fun. Lindy's having a great time learning to make Slappy move and talk. But Chris is jealous of all the attention her sister is getting. It's not fair. Why does Lindy always have all the luck? Chris decides to get a dummy of her own. She'll show Chris. Then weird things begin to happen. Nasty things. Evil things. No way a dummy can be causing all the trouble. Or is there? Well, yeah. Or else this book would be a big fat piece of shit. So, obviously, without getting into spoilers, I mean, what do you expect? Do you think there's not going to be a living dummy in this book? Yeah, Night of the Living Dummy is iconic as shit, and I would recommend reading it, obviously. This is a base book in the series. It is one of the main pillars. It is featured every time Goosebumps is mentioned in every Goosebumps live-action media. Slappy is there, or is labeled as Night of the Living Dummy, like in the new show and in the movies. Yeah, it is just insanely fucking popular, and it's a standard read. You gotta read this one. This book is part of the Definitive 5, as I like to call them, which are from the first retro tin in Goosebumps, having One Day at Horrorland, obviously Night of the Living Dummy, The Haunted Mask, Say Cheese and Die, and Welcome to Dead House. They're the most iconic and memorable covers and books and stories. Everybody knows them, everybody loves them. Yeah, this is one of the base reads if you're getting into the franchise, and obviously I recommend it. But is it very good? Well, without going to spoilers, I will just flat out tell you, yeah, it's a pretty good read, but I think this is definitely one of the weaker dummy stories. But it's a nice setup, and spoiler alert, it ain't fucking Slappy as the villain, and I might have fucking told you earlier, but I don't give a shit. Let's move on. So I'm gonna try and speed these up because this video might be 10 hours fucking long, but we are talking about the most popular Goosebumps book of all time. So, what are the upsides for Night of the Living Dummy? So, this is iconic as fuck. So, there's a lot of nostalgia factor that will kind of keen to score. You know, we all have nostalgia just looking at the cover, but reading the book as well. I've read this book a solid at least 7 times in my life. Coincidentally, I know, because it's the 7th book in the series. At least, I know I've audiobooked this one at least 3 times, and of course I've read through it 4 times. And I reread it this past October in 2023. Yeah, it's no different. Very nostalgic, very good, and very fun read overall, I'll say that. One of the main things I did find great about it was the climax in particular. I think not everything about this book leading up to that is great, but I think everything past page 85 is fantastic. Or post-talent show scene, including that as well. Talent show scene and beyond, fantastic. I would recommend always, you know, looking forward to that when you get into this book. That shit's great. I think that's when the book really shines and when this book gets really memorable. And the climax is just super iconic and actually cool, scary. And Mr. Wood does something pretty dark to an animal. I'll just say that. I mean, y'all fucking know. He strangles a dog, and then gets run over by a steamroller. It's a pretty awesome climax. And, also, we have Mr. Wood vomiting all over the audience. Pretty cool. Yeah, another thing I, enjoy about this book is Mr. Wood. He's definitely a little different than Slappy, though very similar. He definitely talks similarly from what I remember. Of course, it has been, 4 months since I reread this. But, of course, this is iconic as fuck. I should remember this story. If I don't, what am I, high? Yeah, Mr. Wood's definitely an interesting character. I don't know if I'd prefer him over Slappy, and I usually said that just because, you know, Mr. Wood's a less talked about and more interesting character than Slappy. Slappy's just like, okay, yeah, we know the lore, he's basic. Mr. Wood's kind of mysterious. I don't prefer Mr. Wood, but I still think he's a solid antagonist for the story. Speaking of antagonists, Slappy. And Slappy played into the twist. The twist was nice. It set up all the sequels and, you know, Slappy as a whole. So, if that twist wasn't in there, we might never have had Night of the Living Dummy 2, 3, and, you know, Slappy is the main character in those, since, you know, he was very much into that to be alive at the end, because he was fucking alive at the end. Yeah. I think the twist in this book is just, it's really nice, really memorable, everybody loves it. It's a nice highlight. Not just talking about the climax, I do think that when they do find Slappy in the dumpster outside this house, in construction, I think that's an interesting scene. There's a plot hole, and you might have heard it when I was reading, just the back of the book. Lindy names the ventriloquist dummy she finds Slappy. That is a plot hole, and I could definitely dud points for that. I don't give shits, though. This was made in 1993, and, you know, Slappy's lore has evolved immensely over the fucking years, but I could just not give shit. So, yeah, this book is literally 31 years old. This book is really old in July this year. That is crazy. Yeah, besides that, I think that scene is actually one of the better parts of the book. I also like the talent show, like little mini sequences when they're practicing. I thought those were neat. I think there's a scene where some next door neighbors come over. That is a fun scene. Or grandparents, I'm not sure, but either way, to get insulted heavily by one of the children. Yeah, it's a very, very fun part of the book. Probably one of the biggest highlights from it. I also think the writing here is solid overall. That's another highlight. Yeah, there's just a lot of stuff to grace about this book overall. It hits all the marks. It's all great throughout, but let's get into the downsides. Starting off an immediate downside, the first 80 pages are definitely a little bit more lackluster. I wouldn't say they're awful, but I would say they're reminiscent of, You Can't Scare Me, which I just literally reread this morning. I stayed up all night and I reread Carnival of Horrors, and now You Can't Scare Me. Yeah, there's really nothing going on. It's more just the less arguing between the sisters. And in fact, none of the dummies are alive. Karumari with Donna Malonu Carano was not even said up until page 80 or so. That is pretty stupid. It could definitely piss a lot of people off, and it did piss me off upon reread, because I completely forgot about that. But I did notice it, of course, going throughout the book, like, okay, this is not him, he's not alive, Mr. Wood's not alive, nor Slappy can be either of them. I will say they aren't terrible, like I said, but they're definitely a bit more lackluster with just arguing between the sisters, and that's kind of dumb, but it goes nowhere. And I think it's stupid how out of their fucking way they went to torture each other, especially Chris's sister, Lindy. I think she's just fucking stupid. Yeah, speaking of which, Lindy's definitely a weaker character. And honestly, twins in general aren't great characters. They're kind of annoying. I don't think they're absolutely terrible. Once again, nothing about this book is god-awful. It's a really solid read. It's just like, yeah, there's definitely some stuff that could be a lot better than the first 80 pages of this book. Yeah, definitely not the greatest characters, and definitely not with great morals, especially if Lindy. She's a bitch. Yeah, fuck you, Lindy. Anyways, yeah, those are my downsides for the book. Not many to go over. And also, I would like to mention that the story overall is just not that great. It is not weak either. I still think it's a good story. It's just like, compared to the sequels, and especially some slap-your-old books, yeah, this pales in comparison. I'm sorry. It's true, though. Anyways, yeah, let's get to the rating. I'll give this book a strong 8 out of 10. Right in the middle, I'd say, for my giant giga, I can't say the second word, ranking of the entire series. So, yeah, it is a really solid one overall, but I think the first 80 pages kind of are lackluster with bad characters. But still, it was a great climax. I really enjoyed the scene where they fall down the stairs and stuff. I really enjoyed all of the mean stuff Mr. Wood does, and when we finally get to see him walking around. Yeah, he was an interesting character. Not as, like, great as Slappy, but more interesting, I'd say. Yeah, overall, really solid read, 8 out of 10. This is a base standard book. I don't think it's as great as a lot of people say. I'd say it's definitely one of the most overrated books of all time. Yes, I'm serious. Mostly because every single person who is new to Goosebumps always put this in, like, their top 10. Mostly because they haven't read much, and it's not, like, a big issue. And besides, if you really love this book and you've read a lot of books, it doesn't matter. It's fine. It's just, like, it's a very standard thing I see with newer fans, that they just really, really like this book. And it's obvious at some point that might change, because there are so many greater books out there, and even weaker ones, of course. Yeah, and that might make this one look even worse comparison, especially if you read the sequels, because some of the sequels are just absolutely awesome or absolutely terrible. It's not slappy. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. This is a re-review, by the way. My old review is being deleted, so lost media there for you. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.